Three tiers of government share 2.225 trillion naira from a total of 3.635 trillion naira for the month of August 2025. Federal Government Food and Agricultural Organization roll out $3.14 billion plan to boost agriculture. U.S. Fed makes first rate cut of 2025 over employment risks. Now oil prices little changed after Fed cut rates. Japan stocks hit fresh record amid mixed trading in Asia after Fed cut rates as expected. The program is Business Express reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Benny, about to count every penny. Do stay. A new code for an efficient taxation and revenue collection through the adoption of the International Public Sector Accounting Standard has been launched in Rivers State. The new tax initiative, launched by the former administrator of Rivers State, Ibokete Ebas, is the latest reform by the Rivers State Board of Internal Revenue to set the stage on a global financial standard and economic growth. Osinachi Samuel has the details. Well, we're going to get back to that story as we'll be joining a Port Harcourt later. For now, we'll move on to the Federation Account Allocation Committee, which has shared 2.225 trillion naira to the three tiers of government as the Federation allocation for the month of August 2025. The amount was drawn from a gross total of 3.635 trillion naira, comprising statutory revenue, value-added tax, electronic money transfer levy, and exchange difference. A breakdown of the allocation shows that the federal government received 810.045 billion naira. The states received 709.831 billion naira, while the local government councils got 522.228 billion naira. While the oil producing states received 183.012 billion naira as a derivation. The communique noted increases in oil and gas royalty, the VAT, the CET levies, while the petroleum profit tax, import duty, AMLT, companies income tax, and excise duty saw declines, reflecting mixed performance in revenue streams for the month. The Central Bank of Nigeria has instituted structural reforms to broaden its efforts in consolidating and raising regulatory effectiveness in the financial services sector. The bank's policies are also designed to expand existing supervisory frameworks, clarify institutional responsibilities, and maintain focused oversight of non-provincial and emerging risks. The Apex Bank's new compliance directives to banks, payment service banks, and other financial institutions are expected to enhance the quest for improved regulatory effectiveness and industry-wide oversight responsibilities. One of the critical roles of the CBN is ensuring high standards of banking practice and financial stability through its surveillance activities. The Financial Sector Regulator is empowered by the Bank and Other Financial Institutions Act, that is the BOFIA 2020, to promote an efficient payment system that strives within a sound financial framework. Now, the federal government has paid vulnerable Nigerians the sum of 330 billion naira in cash transfers through the National Social Safety Net Coordinating Office. The Minister of Finance, Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edu, disclosed this while briefing the press in Abuja. He disclosed that there were about 19.7 million poor and vulnerable households and over 70 million individuals on the National Social Register. The cash transfers are being done from an $800 million facility of the World Bank. According to Edu, the cash transfers are part of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's strategies to help poor Nigerians cope with rising prices brought about by the fuel subsidy removal and the floating of the naira. It's still on Business Express, and at this time we're taking a trip to Port Harcourt, where Governor Similai Fubara returns to office after 6 months. Now we join our correspondent Robinson Daratide. He is at the Mile 1 market to fill us in on the mood in Port Harcourt at this time. Talking about the business environment, Robinson, if you can hear me, what is happening? What is the gain for the business community at this time in Rivers State?
The business community in Rivers State is excited because of the return of democratic governance. As you are aware that Rivers State is a major economic center where a lot of micro businesses, but the last
Well, it seems we've lost contact with Robinson at this point. Well, while we get to re-establish a contact with Robinson in Mile 1 Market in Port Harcourt, let's look at one of the new tax codes introduced by the immediate past administrator of Rivers State, where a new code for an efficient taxation and revenue collection through the adoption of the International Public Sector Accounting Standards has been launched in Rivers State. The new tax initiative, launched by the former administrator of Rivers State, Ebok Ete-Ebas, is the latest reform by the Rivers State Board of Internal Revenue to set the stage on a global financial standard and economic growth. Osinachi Samuel has the details for us.
Sector Accounting Standards (IPSAS) is part of activities lined up to wrap up the 6 months emergency rule, anchored by Vice Admiral Ebok Ete-Ebas. According to him, the adoption of the International Public Sector Accounting Standard will make the state's financial records credible and globally acceptable, while the modernized revenue code will plug leakages, expand the tax net, and enhance internally generated revenue.
This reform also places Rivers State on a higher pedestal in the global financial ecosystem. With IPSAS compliant and the migration to a new revenue code, Rivers State will be better positioned before the World Bank, United Nations, and other multilateral fund managers.
Chairman, Rivers State Internal Revenue Service, Israel Ebunefu, described the move as a globalization of the state's fiscal identity, positioning Rivers State to attract investment and international support.
Significance of IPSAS framework include it brings uniformity and standardization across all MDAs, makes our reports comparable with other states and countries, enhances credibility of our financial systems, which are critical for gaining the trust and development partners, multilateral fund managers, and rating agencies.
With the international public sector accounting standards and the new codes in place, Rivers State is believed to be charting a bold course for stronger institutions, sustainable revenue, and a future of shared prosperity.
Okay, thank you. Still with Port Harcourt, I understand we've re-established a connection. Robinson, if you can hear me at this time, what's happening around the Mile 1 market in Port Harcourt?
Yes, the Mile 1 market in Port Harcourt is a very popular market in Port Harcourt where a lot of business activities take place. Today is actually a sanitation day in all the markets, and that is why the crowd is not very much here. The return of democratic governance in Rivers State excites the business environment because a lot of businesses around here are micro businesses. And the last 6 months of emergency rule had actually had a very severe effect on businesses. Most of them are hopeful that with the return of the governor, businesses will come up again. The governor actually introduced some reforms that have been very beneficial to the market people. And the emergency rule has a way of affecting all of this. So they believe that it will actually return. The prospects of businesses in the state will actually return. I have with me a businessman, Samuel Chukwu. Samuel Chukwu deals with household equipment. So he's going to be speaking to us on the prospects of businesses now that the governor is back. So tell us basically, what was the situation during the emergency rule and the prospect now that democratic governance has returned?
Actually, what I observed during the emergency rule is that the business was not flowing the way we traders expected it. But now that the suspended governor is back, I believe he will do something to ensure that things have been normalized in the business sector.
So tell us, in terms of patronage of customers or selling, so what was the percentage like? What was the range like then and now that this morning that you started your business?
Actually, what I observed here is that during when he was suspended, that things, the business sector, it is not normalized. But now that he's back, I believe that he will do something to ensure that the business sector is normalized in the Mile 1 market.
Thank you. Even the former businesses like tourism, hotels and others, there has always been a complaint in the last 6 months. But looking at the atmosphere and the excitement on the faces of business owners, we believe that Port Harcourt will come back on mainstream businesses again.
Okay, Robinson, I also understand the feeling of the business community. Now there is more excitement. Economic activities are going to get better. But again, in the last 6 months, towards the last tail of the last 6 months, we understand that the administrator actually effected or introduced a new tax code, which is to increase efficiency in revenue generation. Don't you see that as more money for small businesses as well as more revenue for government to embark on much more infrastructure development? Tell us the pluses in that.
I think the administrator left with a major reform in the taxation and revenue administration policy because it was his last assignment before he left. And this policy actually excited every business owners in the state because it is like streamlining the revenue administration in Rivers State. It is an IPSAC's revenue code. And according to them, this code will enhance efficiency and also accountability. It is payments that are made will be verifiable, and then it will also block leakages. So this is actually a very good reform that the administrator perhaps will be remembered with. It was introduced by the Rivers State Board of Internal Revenue Service. I even tried to reach out to them if they could speak on it this morning, but unfortunately, because they are all awaiting the arrival of the governor, they decided not to speak yet. It is one major policy that business owners are saying as a major policy that will bring about efficiency and development in Rivers State.
thank you, Robinson. There, that's to say, it's been a win-win in the last 6 months, and from now going forward. Please keep track on that reform. Let's see how it impacts on not just Rivers State business community, but also Nigeria as a whole. Thank you for your contribution at this time.
Thank you very much.
Great. Still talking business, now talking currency. The Naira depreciated to 1,537 per dollar in the parallel market from 1,535 per dollar on a Wednesday. Likewise, the Naira depreciated 1,498 per dollar in the Nigerian foreign exchange market. That is the NAFEM market. Now, data published by the Central Bank of Nigeria, as the CBN, showed the exchange rate for the Naira rose to 1,498 per dollar from 1,485.5 per dollar on Tuesday, indicating 12.5 depreciation for the Naira. Consequently, the margin between the parallel market and the NAFEM rate narrowed to 39 per dollar from 49 Naira 95 kobo per dollar on Tuesday. Now, how much is the Naira exchanging for other currencies? Let's take a look at the numbers. Now, Nigeria hosts the Hand-in-Hand Food Security Initiative under the Food and Agriculture Organization. The Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Abubakar Kyari, who represented President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, stated that Nigeria aims to secure $3.1 billion in agricultural investment under the renewed Hope Agenda. Musa Babaliu has details on how this is going to happen.
And West African nations. They are here in Nigeria for the Food and Agriculture Organization's Hand-in-Hand initiative, which aims to address challenges associated with food and nutrition in the region. Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Abubakar Kyari, representing President Bola Tinubu, says Nigeria is on the right track to improving agricultural activities to meet food demand for export. He calls on other nations in the region to work together and fight a common enemy, hunger.
Therefore, I call upon my fellow ministers and leaders from the Sahelian region to deepen our collaboration. Let us harmonize our policies and share best practices. To our development partners and international financial institutions, we advocate for a more strategic partnership that aligns with our national plans and provides concessional financing and technical assistance for large-scale transboundary water projects.
The FAO country representative for Nigeria and ECOWAS states that the Hand-in-Hand initiative is designed to accelerate transformative, nationally led programs to overhaul agri-food systems, targeting the eradication of poverty, elimination of hunger and malnutrition, and reduction of inequalities.
This is your collective mandate. I challenge you to move beyond project management and become architects of partnership. Proactively engage your governments to create bankable investment portfolios based on the hand-in-hand in evidence.
For years, the West African nations have been battling to eradicate hunger and malnutrition due to climate change, conflict, and unstable governments.
Now, gold falls after scaling record peak as market digests Fed Chair Powell's comments. Let's take a look at the numbers of other commodities around the world. Still talking energy, to fast-track compressed natural gas infrastructure development in line with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's initiative on the CNG, the Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority convened a stakeholders engagement to sensitize industry players on auto compressed natural gas, auto CNG license requirements and procedures. Lydia Sampson reports.
Across the country, Nigerians are embracing CNG as an alternative fuel, evident in the growing number of motorists converting their vehicles and the long queues at CNG stations. Demand has now outspaced supply. This stakeholder engagement was designed to demystify licensing processes, ensure seamless implementation, and strengthen regulatory compliance to attract more investment across the CNG value chain.
Is to bridge the gap between the authority, that's the regulator, and the applicant as it concerns the operations of CNG in Nigeria. And we organize this because we also keyed into Mr. President's initiative on CNG.
Key industry players at the event commended President Bola Tinubu's decisive push to accelerate CNG adoption nationwide.
I must thank the NMDPR for organizing this seminar because for those of us who have been intending to go into the business of CNG, we never realized that there's a lot to know about the business itself. And quite a number of us, some consultants will come, they will tell you very nice things so that you can pay them commissions. But now, coming here, we have realized that there's a lot to do and we can be able to do a lot of these things ourselves. And then I must thank the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for introducing this issue of CNG.
This has created a very good atmosphere of collaboration, of cooperation, of knowledge sharing, and a feedback loop that is very important for the regulators, for PCNGI, for all stakeholders indeed, to understand what are the common concerns, the lowest common multiples, the highest common denominators.
Speakers highlighted CNG's benefit from reducing fuel costs to cutting environmental pollution. Participants expressed readiness to work more closely with regulators to drive CNG uptake, aligning with Nigeria's energy diversification and cleaner fuel ambitions.
And now talking accountability in business, it is believed that for the nation to thrive and achieve its set goals, an accountability mechanism that holds people responsible and in transparent manner must be in place. These were submissions of experts on service delivery at a training on performance management systems. Olayanka Ojo has details of that.
Since 1974 down to 2024, government process of assessing workers was through the use of annual performance appraisal form known as APA form. And the fact that it has outlived its importance is the reason why the present administration in 2025 introduced the Performance Management System, PMS, into the public sector to address some gaps.
Within the upper form too, we don't plan. We don't actually say, okay, what are we going to achieve? What is the organization? There's no linkage between the organization and the individual. But with this, it's coming from the presidency to the organization, from the organization to the department, from the department to the individual.
And since having a whole government approach to doing things differently and achieving national developmental plans at the heart of government's policies and actions, this training session for staff of Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission is to help kickstart the process.
Be prepared for the new challenges, because if you do not shape up, you are likely to shoot out.
We have to change our attitude in terms of our approach to work.
You don't stay at home and expect to be appraised upward.
This is just the best way to go.
With this, there's a line of sight to what an employer is doing, and achieving government's priorities won't be difficult.
Thank you, Olanka there. And now looking at the markets, the Nigerian stock market on Wednesday closed on a positive note with a gain of 309 billion naira on renewed appetite for Dangote Cement PLC and 25 others amid a 0.93% appreciation in Dangote Cement to 516.20 per share. The exchange limited also gained 489.45 basis points to close at 142,036.23 basis points, with the month-to-date and year-to-date returning settled at about 0.1% and 38% respectively. And market capitalization also rose to 309 billion to close at 89.865 trillion naira. And still looking at the market, Japan's benchmark Nikkei 225 rose 1.13% to a fresh record on Thursday, led by gains in the real estate and technology sectors. The top movers were led by a chemical company, Rusana Holdings, which jumped more than 10%, semiconductor manufacturer, that is the Screen Holdings, which added nearly 4.3%, and beverage giant Kirin Holdings, which gained 4.3%. Let's now see how the global stocks are faring this morning and into the day. This is where we end this edition of Business Express. We do value your feedback, so keep the comments, observations, and suggestions coming. Be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube and other social media platforms. Business Express returns tomorrow Friday at 3 p.m. Keep a date with us as you keep thinking and doing business. God bless Nigeria.